Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of Gaffer and Gear. Today we're finally doing the catch-up episode on Kupo light stand products. So I'd just like to give a very big thank you to Kupo for sending all this stuff in for us to have a look at, and a big thank you to the Australian distributor, which is Protog, for organising all this. Now before we get into having a look at the stands, we'll take a very quick look at this one clamp, because this clamp arrived too late to make it into the clamps episode. Okay, so Kupo call this their Convi Clamp. A more common name for this sort of clamp is Super Clamp. Every manufacturer who makes grips equipment makes a version of these. All right, so we'll quickly run over this. So this is designed to mount to pipe. So there you go, mounted onto a pipe, no problem. It'll also mount to timber up to a certain point. Okay, so that is about the size of a piece of timber you can mount to. Now, if you're going to mount it to a piece of timber, you don't have a lot of surface area here. So to allow for that, there's a little adapter that's usually on the back here. That goes into the jaw and fills the jaw up. Okay, so let's put our piece of timber on and check that we've got a good connection. And there you go. So you're a little bit limited on the size of timber you can mount to, but you could use this clamp to mount a light or a magic arm or a max arm, in this case, to a bookshelf or something like that. Now, if you want to mount a light to the clamp, you're going to need a spigot, which is this part here, and these are sold separately. Now, you can also mount something like a max arm or a magic arm into the Convi Clamp. Now, one point of difference between this Convi Clamp and a Manfrotto Super Clamp is this has a ratchet handle, so you can readjust its position, and the handle is steel. Now, these sell for 44 Australian dollars, which is around the 30 US dollar mark. Okay, so with the light stands, I thought we'd start with the small ones and work our way up. What's this called? The Kupo 121 Grand 4-Way Snap Stand. It's pretty much your lightweight stand with the baby pin on top. Here's the difference though. You can stack these together. So if you want to transport a whole group of these, they literally do this and lock together. Okay. Now they can lock in that orientation, or you can lock them this way. So you can lock stands on all four sides. I can't see any loss in structural integrity or any loss of strength through having this this leg system. So it's as strong as any other stand, of this size. A few things I like is it's got a welded pin section up here. So I like the fact that that's all welded. The locking collars are all metal and all of the handles are metal. Now here's one point of difference between this and other stands that link together. All right, so I undo the column here, and down the base here there's a little button that I push, so I push into that. And now I've got a boom pole. Okay, so this thing sells for 189 Australian dollars, which is 129 US dollars. All right, so the next stand we're going to have a look at is this one. It's called the Kupo Baby Kit Stand with square legs. So the best way I can figure to explain this is you've got a light that it's not heavy, but it's too heavy for a lightweight stand like this. Okay, so you're thinking this stand's too pathetic, but you don't want to go to a combo headstand because that's too heavy for you to carry around. What you want is something that's lightweight like this, that is finger heavy, but has enough strength on it that it can take some serious punishment. Well, this is the stand for you. So it's an all alloy construction. The lock-offs here, the locking sections, they're a really high gauge, a really high quality metal. The pipes are all good solid gauge pipe. So if you've got a light with a ballast that clamps on, it's not going to ding your pipe, so that's pretty good. You've got an adjustable leg with some good length on it, and that locks really solid. Okay, that's not going to come apart on you. So it's very well constructed. You got a welded stud or a welded spigot up here, so no one can steal that off you. They look pretty good, but here's the amazing thing: the price. So you're looking at 240 Australian dollars, which is 142 US dollars. All right, so let's take a look at their combo stands now, and these really are heavy duty. So I think the best way to explain these is they're made in China, so they've got a Chinese price tag, but they've got European build quality. I suppose that's the best way to explain it. This is Fletcher, by the way. So Fletcher's cracked it that I haven't been paying attention to him today. So he's been tapping on the door like crazy. Anyway, let's get into talking about these. So this is the low mighty stand. We'll start off with this one first. First off, I better explain a combo headstand in case you don't know what it is. So a combo headstand takes a light with a junior pin or a junior stud, and you've also got a baby pin or a baby receiver on it. Okay, so it can take pretty much every size light. All right, so the one thing I do like about this compared to other junior combo headstands I've got is it does have a large footprint. I can put a fairly big light on this. I'm not worried about it tipping. So usually with my other mini combos, I've got to really put a load of shop bags on. One shop bag on this, it'll be fine, I think. It rained here a few nights ago, so I'll put these out in the rain just to see the next day if there'd be any rust on them. So they're fine, there's no problem with that. Good solid gauge pipe. Everything's really solidly constructed on them. So let's go through points of difference with the grip heads. With the heads. So one thing that's very different is the junior pin. So you've got a junior pin that rises up. It's got a good length on it, so you can mount pretty much every type of light that you can think of that takes that receiver. It'll mount to. But the one thing I do like about this is, say you've got a light that you want to tilt down, but it doesn't tilt all the way down in the stirrup. Well, that's not a problem with this stand. You can put it into that position, mount the light, and tilt that way. Okay, so that's a bit of a bonus. Now, one of the advantages in doing that is it frees up the hole in the top, which is why it's got the additional lock off here. So you can take a clamp that has a baby pin on it and mount that into the top of the stand and lock it in place. So it gives you a little bit of versatility. And the other thing I like with this pin being out here is it gives you an additional mounting point. So let's say I'm doing tabletop photography or something like that, tabletop product shots, and I want to put a frame in front of my light. Well, I can do that off the same stand. So I wouldn't do this outdoors, out in the wind, but if I had a small light here, I can put the frame on the same stand because of that point. So it does offer a little bit more versatility than you get out of a standard combo head stand. It'll go from 106 centimeters up to 205 centimeters, and it is rated at a 35 kilogram payload. Right, so this low mighty stand sells for 319 Australian dollars or 220 US dollars. Now, one thing I forgot to mention on the smaller stand, so this could be a negative for some of you, okay? Doesn't affect me, but for you it could be a negative. So the stand legs pack up that way. They don't pack up the other way. So I'll just give that a go. Okay. That's as much as they pack in. So that's not the case with the larger stand. It'll fold in and out either way, but if you like having your legs pointing down when you fold them up, that's not going to work for you. All right, so let's go over the bigger unit now. So this is called the Master High Cine stand. So this unit goes from 140 centimeters, that's its lowest point. So that's set up like this with the center column dropped. So 140 centimeters, it'll go all the way up to 420 centimeters, which is quite high. So I'll just go over first off with this, things I don't like with it. So, and this is the same with the smaller stand. The only thing I really don't like is these lock-offs. I don't like the shape of the handle. So it does bite into you a little bit when you're trying to lock them off and you're making sure they're solid. It does bite you on the edges a little bit. But if you're wearing gloves when you work, I'm sure you're going to be fine. And for me, probably if I drink a little bit of cement and harden up, I'll probably be okay with them. So in case you ever wonder why you don't see me wearing gloves, I do martial arts and I love martial arts. I've done them since I was little, but I suck at it. So I've got broken tendons, broken thumbs. So getting gloves on actually hurts. So it's I prefer not to wear gloves because of hand injuries through martial arts. No hand injuries due to lighting, but that's why I don't wear gloves. Now, in terms of locking them off, they do lock very solid. So you can put your weight on them, even though this is greased up. Let's see how I go. Now, in terms of strength and build quality, I'm getting a bit older now, so I find it very hard to lift heavy lights off the stands by myself. So I'm quite often now using this section of the stand, to give myself a boost up to get the lights off. So I found on a few stands I've buckled that section. This section here has been buckled. On this stand, it's very solid. There's no problem at all. So if you're doing that. All right, so these stands sell for 429 Australian dollars, and I've seen them advertised for 250 US dollars. And one thing I forgot to mention, this is the size when they're packed down. All right, so let's take a look at their C stands now. So this is the 40-inch sliding leg in silver. So I'll just quickly explain for any newcomers watching this. Sliding leg means that the large leg can slide up and down the column. So you can put it on steps, for example, things like that. Okay, so that's what that's for. All right, so I'm going to start off by getting into the negatives for me. So pretty much like with the other stands, the only real negative I've had so far with all the stands is I don't like the shape of the locks on the center columns. They bite a little bit, I find, but I think once I become a real man, I don't think that'll be a problem. The next negative for me is the bottom leg, and that's a spring-loaded leg. So to explain the problem I've got with it, I just need to very quickly explain the legs. So the center leg, the middle leg is fixed in position, the top one freely floats around, and the bottom one is spring-loaded. So what I mean by spring-loaded is you pull it into position and there's a spring pulling back on it. And once you find the groove, that spring pulls the stand into the groove. So I'll go the wrong way so you can see. So once I get to the groove that it should go into, the spring pulls it into place. Okay, so my concern is with that spring is that it's not a strong enough spring. Okay, so set up the way it is now, it's pretty fine. You know, that leg's not gonna slide out. If I push it around, it's not gonna slide out. But once you put some weight onto the light stand, once it's heavy, for my liking, this doesn't have a strong enough spring. So my concern is if I'm on a job and I've got some advertising agency person walking around looking at their phone like a zombie, you know, if they come in contact with this leg while it's got a lot of weight on it, my concern is that they could very easily knock the leg out of place like that, and we're very close to having a tip hazard at that point. So for me, I'd like to see a heavier spring in there, and that's pretty much the only criticism I've got of all the stands so far. All right, so let's go over the positives now, which is pretty much everything else with these. Look, the gauge of the pipe is really good. It's very solid pipe, I've got to say. One thing I like with it compared to some other C stands that are out there is if you go to full extension, there's no play in this join here, so that's solid. It doesn't rock around. So if you extend this at full extension, it doesn't go like that, like some other C stands do. It's got a little bit of play on the center column from where the legs are. You know, all C stands have that because they don't have the legs coming up to the center like on a normal stand. But pretty solid, very, very solid, very impressed. Now, I just want to show you the rod. Okay, so while I'm setting this up, something I want to point out is don't do this. I'm going to overload the arm, and I'm doing that on purpose. Okay, so don't ever put this much load on a C-stand arm. It's a really dumb thing to do because you will damage your C-stand. But I'm doing it to show the strength of the pipe. If you rented this off me and you put 12.5 kilograms on the end of it, you might end up with a few teeth missing. But anyway, let's have a look. So 12.5 kilogram shop bag. So this is crazy overloading it. And look, that pipe is taking that pretty well. You know, so it's without a doubt, if that was an Avenger, that would be bent now. And I know that from experience because I've seen people do it. All right. Let's go in and have a look at the grip heads because the grip heads are quite well constructed. All right, so the first thing I really like about the grip heads is the very large lock-off handles. So it doesn't take much force to get a really good lock-off on these. Now, to give you some idea there, if you own Avengers, if this was an Avenger C-stand, the amount of tightness I've got in this, I'd have to do something like that, have to use both hands to get it that tight. Whereas with this, it is quite literally just, you know, just that. That's all you need. Very solid. And to show I'm not exaggerating the amount of force put into the lock-off, I'll just use my finger and thumb to undo it. And there you go. So I think part of the reason this gets such a good lock is in between the biscuits and the rest of the head, they've got a configuration here that uses teeth and a disc. It doesn't just have two flat plates that can slide like on a lot of C-stands, but it also doesn't have the mistake of using teeth, which don't slide, because if you've got grip heads that just use teeth, they jam. Okay, whereas this has a sheet of aluminium in between the teeth, so that sheet of aluminium is slightly rippled by the teeth. So it still grips, but it enables you to do your fine adjustments and then get a very positive lock. So I'm very impressed with that. The next feature of the grip head is it's spring loaded. So when you unlock it, the holes automatically open. And because it's got a very long alignment pin, all of the holes stay in alignment with each other. In addition to fine engineering on the threads, the grip heads also have a clutch plate with rollers to give the grip head a smooth locking action. Now, if you're thinking about mounting your lights directly onto the arms, here's an option you should consider. You can get a version with a baby hex pin. So a complete 40-inch Kupo C-stand with sliding leg will cost you 339 Australian dollars, and I've seen them advertised for 224 US dollars. And at that price, they're not even worth stealing. All right, so the last thing we'll have a look at in this episode is the turtle base version of their C-stand. So with a turtle base, the difference between a turtle base and a regular C-stand is the center column can detach from the legs. Okay, so you've now got this bit that you can use separately, and you've got what we refer to as a turtle base. So a turtle base is like a floor stand for lights. So I'll just go through the point of difference between this and my other turtle base C-stands, and that is the locking mechanism. So it's got this, this locking mechanism where you pull it up to unlock it. So you just pull up like that and rotate around and everything locks, okay? And to unlock it, you just do the reverse. You just pull it up, spin, and everything locks into place. The legs actually do securely lock in place, all three legs. So this leg's not gonna move if an advertising agency person walks into it. The small leg, that's not gonna move. Middle leg, not gonna move. All the legs are secured, so that's something I really, really like. Now, just before we go, just a note, if you see me doing a gear review and I'm kicking gear around, don't do that with people's equipment. The only reason I do it in a review is to exaggerate and show how strongly things are built. And if you ever see me doing stuff like this, you know that they gave me the product for free. I didn't spend money on it. So if I spent my own coin on this, I wouldn't be kicking it around, but I figure people give me the stuff for free for me to review. I might as well take advantage of that and torture it and see what it can live up to. All right, see you on the next episode of Gaffer and Gear. Take care, everyone.